In Illinois, a 2011 overhaul on workmen's compensation came at the urging of business and insurance companies. We rewrote the statutes at that time to cut costs for insurers and employers. Injured workers gave up longstanding rights based on the understanding that the insurance industry would then pass along the savings to employers through premium rate reductions, who would then pass it on to the workers. Well, since then, the people who are advocates for the workers and the unions have not seen those savings come to their pockets as well. So they're now thinking about revisiting some of those adjustments we made. I'm reading from a Sun-Times editorial from last week, actually. Total benefits paid to medical providers and compensation paid to injured workers dropped by 19% between 2011 and 2015. Medical costs fell here 23.3%. Well, that seems like a good thing, doesn't it? Apparently, I'm wrong. According to the Sun-Times, deeper benefit cuts for injured workers, denied claims only boost insurance industry profits. Then the care of the cost of caring for injured workers is transferred to us, the taxpayer.
And I believe, and I think we talked about this with Rauner at some point last year, John, and that is to attract businesses to the state that desperately needs it. You look at these workman compensation numbers and the way the claims are evaluated cost businesses money. That way, businesses become hesitant to want to be here.
Well, that's Rauner's line. But according to the Sun-Times, Illinois is especially attractive for insurers. There are 332 insurance companies writing workman's comp policies here. It is a rich environment. Well, let's get some expert analysis from Lou Cairo from GWC Law. Lou, what do you think about the 2011 adjustment and the now ongoing efforts to either increase the adjustments or eliminate them?
Well, I can tell you, John, as long as I've been a lawyer, I've seen the legislature always trying to find ways to save money for the insurance industry, whether it was with regular tort reform in '94 when they passed a $500,000 cap on any kind of damages, and even non-workers' comp matters. Just when somebody gets hit by a bus, they wanted to cap non-economic damages, pain, suffering, disability, and that failed. It was deemed to be unconstitutional by the Illinois Supreme Court. They've always tried to change the benefits under workers' compensation in an effort to say, well, we're trying to help businesses become more profitable. The proof is what you just indicated. Every time they've done it, it's failed, and it's failed with workers' comp. It's failed because it actually proved that all of those cost savings that were realized by the insurance companies, because the benefits that they paid to injured workers would go down, they never passed on those savings to the employers. The rates have consistently gone up every single year in Illinois, despite tort reform, despite workers' compensation reform. They continue to raise the amount of premiums, which means employers are not realizing the benefit, yet they're lowering the amount of money that workers' comp carriers have to pay to the injured workers. So what happens? The profit margin just increases. Mm-hmm. Premiums go up, good for insurance company.
And not surprisingly, the costs aren't really passed on. It's just another football stadium.
Well, what it is, it's another insurance. Yeah, it's another name slapped on an insurance company, or I'm sorry, slapped, like you say, a football stadium or a high-rise building in the city. And it's a scam. Unfortunately, I mean, listen. I'm a lawyer. I make a living, like my firm, representing people in workers' compensation and in very large catastrophic injury cases. I'm all for reform if it helps everybody, if it helps businesses, if it helps workers, if it takes some of the profit out of the insurance industry. Oh, my God, that would be terrible, right? No, that would actually be good, because Illinois always produces record profits for the insurance industry, because the rates go up, which means they collect more money, and the benefits go down, which means they pay out less.
Yeah. Lou Cairo is here. He's our go-to expert for, all things regarding the law, and especially workman's comp. He's GWC Law, right?
Yeah, Lou, I look at some of the averages as far as, what you might get paid if you lose a pinky on the job. If you live in Illinois, it's higher than what it happens to be in Massachusetts. But my question is, when you have a small business, and I always harken back to my dad, who had a union sheet metal shop in Glen Ellen. He had like a 10-man shop, local 265, and there was this one guy that he hired, and he, by all accounts, was a pretty good worker. Now, my dad would get, it would seem like he would get nicked anytime there was a workman's comp claim, and here's a guy that worked the system for 2 years. He had a back injury, and I know back injuries are hard to spot, If you have a back injury, you know how painful they can be. But, somebody kept telling my dad, hey, this guy's over here at the Wheaton Bowl every Friday night playing the game, but he can't come into work, and he's working off the system. My dad goes in there with a Polaroid camera, takes a picture of the guy bowling, case dismissed. How do you protect the little guy in a case like that where there might be some fraudulent action on behalf of the injured?
Yeah, well, I think you start with the basic premise that no matter what industry, no matter what, if you're buying a car, you're buying a toaster, you're getting a lawyer, you're going to a doctor, there are scammers in everything, right? I mean, it's unfortunately it's the nature of the beast. There's always some people that are not good people, and they're going to try to, take advantage of the system. Your dad did exactly the right thing. I mean, you go in there, there's a lot of companies that just hire private investigators. Hey, just follow this guy around for 3 days, videotape and see what happens. Mm-hmm. And, I hate when I see those videos, but on the other hand, I usually hate them because I think, A, they're invasive. They're looking in people's windows. They're looking in their back doors. But on the other hand, if they catch you doing something you're not supposed to be doing because you say, I can't lift more than 5 pounds, that's my restriction, so I'm collecting my workers' comp. But then you're bowling, you're throwing a 11-pound or a 16-pound bowling ball, or you're climbing up your trees and trimming your trees, or cleaning your gutters off of a ladder. Maybe you should be working.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not one of those guys that says, hey, I'm always for the plaintiff, and if the plaintiff's a scam, he should still get paid. We reject those cases. We don't. That's not how you build a reputation as a lawyer, having people that are scamming. And I don't want to see small businessmen get scammed. My dad was a union contractor in the carpenters union for my entire life until he retired. And, I would never want to see my father get scammed, or General Electric or General Motors, or some major, big employer. That's mm-hmm. not what anybody wants. So your dad did the right thing. But it's going to happen. It's the nature of the beast.
I mean, I get it. If a guy loses a leg and he can't work and he's got 30 years left to work, you need to take that into consideration. He needs to be compensated.
Lou, thanks much for your time. It's always good talking to an expert when we get to stories and editorials like this. We'll hook up with you again next week, I'm sure.
Sounds good.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks. That's Lou Cairo from GWC Law.